This is the Round 2 podcast with Galen, Parker, and Stephanie Nicole, where we talk to big thinkers, big dreamers, and big idea havers. Quitting and failing are not the same thing, and we're going to show you why. Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, whatever one that you're on. Welcome back to the Round 2 podcast. My name is Galen Parker. I'm here with my co-host, Miss Stephanie Nicole. Stephanie Nicole, say hello to the people.
Hey, everybody.
There we go. Look at that. She's getting warmer to you guys. She's saying, hey, everybody. This is a podcast that is really speaking to the people who have an entrepreneurial spirit. They want to start their own thing. They're trying to secure their own bag, but perhaps they're afraid of failure. Perhaps they failed in the past, and they're trying to think, what are the steps that I can take to promote me to the next stage, the next level? And this is where your hard work, ingenuity gets recognized. And so we want to talk to you a little bit about it so that we can build our dreams and so that you can also build yours. But Stephanie, before we go any further, how was your weekend?
It was good. It was Super Bowl Sunday, of course. I just worked for the most part.
Who did you want to win the Super Bowl?
The Chiefs.
Okay. You don't sound sure.
Yeah, I was going with whatever team Taylor Swift was going on.
Okay. So I'm glad you said that because I wrote down Taylor Swift ? In my notes. Why were you going for the team that Taylor Swift is? Are you a Taylor fan?
I am not.
Okay. What is it about Taylor that you're rooting for her from?
Well, I'm not necessarily rooting for her. My team did not make it to the Super Bowl, so I was like, if anybody deserves a Super Bowl win, it's Taylor Swift. So
of course. I mean, what else hasn't she won? Why not give her a championship?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny that so many people are hating on it, and I'm just like, what? What is the point of hating on her? Like, she's dating someone. Y'all just mad at love.
Right.
She's dating someone. He's good at his job. Like, imagine the alternatives. Are we so used to just like unhappiness that they're just like, I can't stand other people being unhappy? Like, I don't get the hate. It's like she got a bunch of people to watch the Super Bowl that probably would have had no interest in the Super Bowl.
Well, just for the record, I think that people are mad at Taylor Swift because there was some drama in the relationship zone. Apparently, she might have
spilled the tea.
She might have took somebody's man.
I saw that. I saw what Twitter was saying, and I don't understand. Here's the thing. This is such a left field thing to think about. But so sometimes you'll see videos on the internet of, like, let's say man is cheating on his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And the girlfriend finds out and she runs up on them at like Red Lobster. And she has all this smoke for the woman.
Right.
And no energy for the man. And I've always just been like, she might not have even known.
Right.
And you've got all this hostility, all this, and it's just like, so to me, it's just like, why have hate towards Taylor? Like, shouldn't y'all talk to Mr. Kelsey? Like,
that's a fact.
Something got taken or something got gave away. And I don't know. I'm not in, obviously none of us are in there, but it's just like, how do we know that when he approached her, he was like, I'm single dingle. I ain't got nothing. I'm unencumbered. I'm a free agent. And she was like, oh, bet. And it's like, now everyone's like, how dare she take? I'm like, come on, stop it. I was like, give him the smoke. Let these people live.
Right.
What did you think about the halftime show?
That was my favorite halftime show of all time. I think Usher is a wonderful performer. I wasn't even into the Super Bowl or the halftime, but as soon as he came out on the stage, I was like, oh, hold on. Have me dance a little bit. I watched the whole thing. I was like, oh, I might have to buy me some Usher tickets.
Got hit? Did you?
I did not buy Usher tickets, but I maybe will if he's in the area. Because who gonna do a performance like that? Sexy Red ain't gonna be on those skates. Drake
is not going to be dancing. Drake has got hits, but I don't think you can't perform like that. For the Super Bowl, we need a performer. Like, I was looking at people like, why doesn't this old McFogey artist? I'm like, because they can't perform like that. Like, Lady Gaga got out there and performed.
Yeah.
Beyonce got out there and performed, like dancing, moving, everything. Like, and Usher realized, like, I can't follow these people, so he performed. So, like, you need a performer, not just the artist. So I like that. About 6 months ago, I said, hey, Alexa, play me Usher hits. I almost wasn't able to work because I usually put that on as like background music while I'm on the phones. But I was hearing that music. I was like, uh-oh. They're like, Mr. Park, you still on the phone? I'm like, huh? What? Oh, sorry. I was too busy jamming down. So no, big shout out to my boy Usher. Him and I go way back. But one day he'll be on the show.
He will.
You better believe that. You better believe that energy.
Yes.
So very good. I love it. I love it. If you guys haven't done so thus far, we're going to give you two seconds, 2 arrows to point down. Feel free to like and subscribe us so that you can stay up to date with all of the gems that will be dropped over the next couple of weeks and months and years, to the point where you're just like, I cannot get enough of these two individuals, as plus the guests that we're going to have on this show. But today's show is unique. So we interviewed me. We've interviewed Stephanie. We've talked about legacy. We've talked about where we want to be. But now let's look forward. And so I posed the question to myself, and I posed it to Stephanie Nicole because she's a business owner, and it made sense. I said, what can we help with? So let's talk about 5 things that an entrepreneur should really consider before taking the plunge. I think that's just so important. To me, 90% of the things I do have to start in planning.
Right.
You sit a lot of just like planning, trying to figure out like what to do, even with like this podcast. Like I kicked around the idea of a podcast. I was a part of another podcast. I started another podcast. It just didn't feel right for me. I enjoyed it, but I was like, man, I feel like I need someone else. I started seeing Stephanie Cole stuff on Instagram, and I was like, this is the person, this is the energy, this is the person I need. So it's like a lot of it goes into planning, like long before you ever kind of take the plunge and try to get into something.
So hold on, when we say take the plunge, that means start a business or complete
whatever it is.
Start your 9 to 5 into a business.
It's when these dreams go from paper to action. Before you start, you're like, all right, I've been thinking about it, but like, what are the things I should be thinking before? Because I've seen a ton of good-hearted people start businesses, and I'm thinking to myself, you didn't really give this much thought. You're not understanding. And it's businesses, even well-planned businesses fail. So businesses that are not well-planned are almost destined to fail. So I wrote out 5 things. You wrote out 5 things. Our 5 things, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to cross over. We're going to speak to them, so don't get too confused. If you're listening to this, pull over to the side of the road, write it down. If you're on your way to work, commit it to memory, come back, watch this episode again so that you can make sure that you are prepared. Number 1, Stephanie, I'm going to let ladies first, because that's how my mama raised me.
So
ladies first.
Of course.
What's your number 1?
I took some of the stuff off your list, but my number 1 is mindset. I think it's kind of hard to get into entrepreneurship if you aren't in the right headspace, and that includes like mental health and all of that.
Ooh, okay.
It's harder when you don't believe in yourself, or you already are negative talking yourself out of things, or you're depressed and you can't get out of bed. So I think mindset is like key.
So let's unpack that just a little bit, because I like what you said. You said if you don't believe in yourself, what's the problem with starting? If you don't believe in yourself, what are some glaring things that can come up if you're not believing in yourself?
I think that when you have limiting beliefs, you get in your own way. Like if you already have preset in your subconscious that you will never reach a certain level, then you most likely will not attract the things that you need to attract, and you won't recognize opportunities. Like you may have
that part
multiple opportunities presented to you throughout a day, but if you're not really focused on that, you could miss them easily.
That part. I'm also just a little. I'm gonna start saying that part a lot, because I was at an open house and 2 younger millennials came in, and as I was talking, she kept on saying that part. And I thought that was hilarious, because I was just like, what's she saying? Because she was like listening. She's like, that part. I'm like, oh, I'm that part. Very good. I like that, because I wrote down something very similar. Throughout your day, you're going to be presented with, some people say blessings, other people say opportunities. They're going to be floating all around you. But if you do not believe in yourself, you are unable to recognize those things. Yeah. You're unable to grab them because you're too busy looking down at your feet like, I can't, I won't, this is going to be a failure. And people are like, here, take my money. That's one of the things I learned in real estate. There are so many people that are like, take my money. But if I didn't believe in myself, I would never take their money. So you've got to kind of be ready. So I wrote down in one of my 5, and this is going to connect to yours, I wrote resilience and persevere. Because as an entrepreneur, your journey is going to be filled with setbacks, failures, rejection, uncertainty. You ain't winning unless you're failing.
Yeah.
Every time you fail, you have now identified an avenue for success, because what you just tried didn't work. You failed at it. So now you're like, okay, I know it doesn't work. Let's try one of these other opportunities. And you're going to try 5 or 6 of them, and you're going to fail. You should be thinking, all right, perfect. I've eliminated all of these bad options. Now what's left, inside of what's left, is now the victory. But you can't do that if you don't have a strong mindset.
Facts.
if you don't take care of yourself mentally. You don't have the grit, determination, the ability. And my biggest one, when you are, as Stephanie meant, if you're depressed, you cannot learn from your mistakes from that mindset, because your mistakes just wash over you. You're not learning from the mistakes. It's like I love everything in my life that's failed, because now I learned something either about the situation, the other party, or myself. Those are the three. The other party, yourself, or the situation. You've got to learn something from every failure. When this is 2007, I spent, let's call it 70 grand on an opportunity. And I was like 22 years old.
What opportunity?
I lost it all. So I started a music promotional company in Richmond called Ann Robin Music. Shout out to Ann Robin Music, where we would book bands, we would do promo stuff, we would do website design. And it was a great idea. It did solve an issue that people had. The problem that I had is that I didn't understand how to monetize it correctly at that time, because the people that it was serving, they didn't have any money.
Right.
So I was like, oh man, I'm doing, but like my core people at that time didn't have any money. So if I would have able to find other people who had money, it would have been, but it was just, I learned from that. So you got to learn from your successes. So very good. I like that. I'm going to track that off. All right. What's the next thing?
So my next thing, of course, I have your list as well. So we have the same one, is finances and funding. I say finances because I'm not going to say it's harder to conduct a business when you're worried about paying bills or where your next paycheck is going to come from. So it's important, in my opinion, to have that foundation established first. Although I didn't have a foundation established, so I'm all about just starting, but it's going to be easier if you have a foundation.
Yeah, I like that. You're going to have to kind of figure out, you have to look backwards. How much do you spend on yourself to get, your bills paid for 6 months? You're going to have to figure out what that number is, and then you're going to have to save that amount. And then I tell people save 120% of that amount. So because things are going to come up. Like, you get sick, you need braces, your eye fell out, you got to brace the eye. There's a lot of things that are come up. So, and that doesn't include what's you have to save to spend on the new venture.
Right.
So it's like, but you have to save that up, because as Stephanie mentioned, it's like, there's nothing worse. It's possible, but it's tough to sell when you are starving, because people, that sound of desperation,
it comes across.
It's off-putting. And it's just like, man, is this a good opportunity, or are you just desperate? Because desperate people will do anything with your money.
They will.
I mean, that money will disappear. They're like, oh, sorry, man, I was desperate. And it's like, that's not an excuse. Where's my money back? So I wrote finances and funding. It says, be realistic with how much money you need to start and run the business. And then also with funding, I've seen, and this is not every instance, but I've seen when people could not recognize the gift horse.
Yeah.
And if someone's just like, well, just tell me about your business plan. I might be, oh, no, I can't. No, I can't tell you about this, but this is my thing. And it's like, the person's like, I'm an angel investor, and you're not willing to tell me about the plan, because this could be, I was like, so be open to funding. Money's good. Sometimes other people's money is better.
Yeah, I love.
So it's like money. Other people's money is like, I'm a pickpocket kid at heart. Other people's money is fantastic, but you have to be willing to recognize that, and that some of that will go back to skills and support, but some of that will go back to mindset, because if you're not a humble person, I love when prideful people fail. Nothing makes me feel better than a prideful person fall. Pride before the crash. So when a person is humble, I'm like, I'm willing to help them. I want to see them succeed, because it's like, man, that feels good. So with being humble, you're willing to say, hey, this is what I need. This is the amount. I don't have the money. Here's my plan. I need some funding, and being willing to do that. So very good. Number 3, as the West Indian brothers would say. Number 3, what do you have?
I have a solid business plan and goals, actionable goals.
Very good. You said goals. Then you said actionable goals. Tell them, what's the difference between a goal and an actionable goal? I
feel like a lot of people will say that they want something, or they are going to do something, and they don't do it. I feel like actionable goals mean that you put your goals on paper, and then you put a plan with it on how you're going to reach those goals, and a time limit in which you need to complete each step to reach your goal for whatever time frame you have.
I'm writing down the word time limit. Did you guys get that? Did you write that down? Goals are, I'm going to lose 200 pounds, right? That's not an actionable goal, Because what's the plan? They're like, oh, I'm going to lose 200 pounds. I'm going to still eat the exact same amount that I normally eat, and I'm also not going to do any additional exercise.
Right.
Well, then that's not an actual, like, there's no plan that gets you from this to there.
Right.
So you need, but you also need to hold yourself accountable by saying a time limit. Because if you have a time limit, you're going to be more motivated. Because what if you say, oh, I'm going to lose 200 pounds in the next 50 years?
Right.
How hard are you going to work those first 30 years? Not at all. But if you're like, all right, so within the next year, I'm going to lose 200 pounds. So now you break it down. All right, so that means in 6 months, I need to have lost probably 130 pounds because it's the last amount of pounds that's the hardest to lose. So in the beginning, you got to front load. So you got to come up, all right, well, so what does that look like for the 3 months, for the month and a half, for the first 2 weeks? Like, what do I change in my diet tomorrow? Do I wake up and go for a walk or hit the snooze button? You're like, there's so many things. So these are actionable goals. I love that you wrote time limit because people be so sparing to themselves, I find. I'm like, all right, this is your plan. I'm like, when are you going to have this done? And they're like, I was thinking about, when my kids go away to college. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm like, when are your kids going away to college? All right, so they start preschool next week. And I'm like, so 18 years, that's the plan? I'm like, no.
That's not a plan.
Let's switch it up. Very good. All right. For my number 2, I wrote...
That's 3.
For my number 3, I wrote passion and problem.
Passion and problem.
Do you have the passion for your endeavor, and is it solving a problem for your consumer?
I like that.
Because you've got to have, you got to be passionate about, all right, I'm going to set this in place. I look at a show like this, right? So the passion is you and I both love to talk. Well, me, I love to talk. Stephanie, you like to talk. Stephanie, you like to talk? I feel like you like that because I talk to you all the time. You be talking. I like to help people.
I got my circle of people that I talk to, but it's a very small circle.
I like to help people.
I do.
All right. So I'm passionate. And we talked about this in our first episode. I'm passionate about helping people. So then it's like, all right, so here's the podcast. I'm passionate about it. Does it solve a problem for other people? Yes, because there's a lot of people who they feel like they've failed. They feel like they can't go on. They feel like they can't. They feel like they won't. They feel like they're not because of their race, their color, all those things. They feel like they can't do something. So when they look at this podcast, I want someone to say, yes, you can, because you look like me, or you sound like me, or you sound like we, or you identify as me. I don't know, whatever you're doing, you can do these things if you're willing to work hard. So it solves a problem. And that's kind of what my idea is. Does your idea solve a real problem or fulfill a need for your target audience? And so if you're making icy cones, that's your passion. Does it solve a problem? Well, if you sell an ice cream cones in the dead of winter, no, right? But if it's in the dead of summer in Virginia, are you solving a problem now? Well, you better believe it. That's why a lot of ice cream shops, like icy shops, shut down during the wintertime because they understand their market. So give us I'm going to switch that off. Give us your 4.
Number 4 is consider what value you're adding to the world pretty much, because if you're not adding value, then most likely you're not going to be able to monetize your product or service. People buy into value, they buy into benefits, and most people just want to know what you can do for them. They don't really care about you.
Yeah, it's like they have to believe that you can bring them some value before they start trusting you.
Yeah, because you're asking. You can do stuff for free, but that's not really a business.
No, that's an unactionable goal, right? So that's just that's volunteer work, and there's nothing wrong with those things. Sometimes people's passion is to volunteer, and we need people who are willing to do that. But usually they've already secured the bag some other way, and so now they have the opportunity. They have the time to do those things. I appreciate that. To connect to that one, I put skills and support network. Like for you to bring value, you have to have the skills to do so. And if you don't have the skills, you have to have the mindset to ask someone. You have to surround yourself with smarter people. You have to be willing to do that. Do you have a support network? Like Stephanie just mentioned, she's got a small group of people that she talks to. Well, she probably talks to them about a lot of different things. So if she's got an idea, maybe she bounces it off, and some of them they might say, hey, girl, that's not going to work. And maybe they present you like, this is not going to work. Or they say, that's not going to work in the way it is right now. But if you tweak this, now it will work. Now it will be a success. But you need to surround yourself with people who are willing to help you and have the same mindset. I can't underscore enough. You have to have the same mindset. We can't have that crab mentality.
Right.
And I think, what did I say to you a couple of days ago? There was something I said we were going to talk about this in the podcast. I was talking about like the crab mentality. I forgot what it was. but it was just something about like people always have like these ideas of they're not, oh, that's what it was, not wanting to put other people on.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, I can't stand when it's like, if you're a success, you should be impelled to try to build someone else, like teach them. Like, now they might not want to learn, but it's like that, you trying to hold, hide it and cover your plate. That's the crab mentality. I can't stand that. Can't and won't.
Yeah, the post was the most ignorant comment ever. If you make so much money doing X, why do you need to sell a course on how to do it?
Thank you. I mean, if you make so much money, why do you need to tell other people about it? There's a guy.
First off,
there's a guy. His name is Gene Frederick. Gene Frederick tells a story, and it's called his nickel story. And if you look it up, you can probably find it. But essentially, it just talks about the fact that, yes, you're stacking cash, but who are you going to spend it with? Like, not just like your family, but it's like, it's kind of boring if you've got a bunch of money saved up to go out of town and you're like, man, this would be great, but none of your people around you can do that with you.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like, Super Bowl just passed. What if you and your closest friends could all buy a skybox or just get like good seats at the bottom all together and just go experience?
Yeah, it's like
together.
He talks about like wanting to spend his nickels with his friend, and it's like, man, it's gonna be great. And imagine if you were able to change your homie's life by putting them on. You're not giving them money, but you're teaching them how to fish. And you're saying, oh, like, if you do this and do that and execute this way, you're gonna be right next to me. Like that's the best. And I've never understood people like, oh, you made so much money off it. Why you need to teach a course? I'm like, because everybody can't be broke like you. I don't know. Like, that's why. Like, I'm trying to put people on. So like, that's how you build legacy. That's how
how you truly build legacy. Like, that's how you really get your name in the street. There are people in Richmond right now that's probably making way more money than me, like way more money. But because I have put my gift out in the world so many times, I can walk in streets and be honored. And these people are not even known, but it's like I'm creating a legacy. I may not have, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not broke, but I may not have like 6 figures a month or 7 figures a month, right. But I'm able to change more lives than these people for sure on a daily basis.
People want to be in your presence. People want to be in your area because they're just like, it's not just about being around someone who's securing the bag. It's wanting to secure the bag with that person.
I love when
it's like, man,
doing good.
Yeah, it's like, man, and I think like if you've got a friend group or you got 5 people in there, 4 of them are doing good. Well, then the other 4, they probably are going to help out that one and just like, hey, here's what you like. That's what it's talking about, building your community. It's like, if you don't have a community, you build it. If someone tells you no, then build it next to it. Build it to the door next to it. Oh, I don't need to come into your nightclub because I built my own. So right. we good over here. I don't need to. You don't want to give me a piece of the pie? That, you know what? I just bought a bakery. We gonna make pies.
Thank you.
Yeah, we making pies over here. So it's like, what you bring to the table? I am the table. What are we talking about? Right? You know what I mean? So it's just like, that's how it is. It's building, community and legacy. All right, what is your last one?
Oh gosh, vision. I feel like you have to understand where you're going and how you're going to get there.
I like that. I love the having a firm vision, because it's like, all right, having the vision tells you where you're going to go tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, because you're just like, I see the goal. It's far away. But if I keep my eyes on the prize, I'm going to move in that direction. That's good.
Yeah, I wrote... double back on that real quick, because I feel like you have to have vision with everything. Like, a lot of people get into relationships, like, just because y'all was in the same vicinity and y'all were attracted to each other, but then you get 2 years later and it's not working because y'all didn't have an aligned vision. Y'all didn't talk about your goals. Y'all didn't say that in 5 years we were going to be doing this. So I think even me, I've been there, done that. But you got to have vision with everything, because if you don't know what you want out of life, then life is going to send you anything.
Oh, you better talk to him. Life is like, oh, well, then take this. You don't know? Take this. And life ain't trying to give you something fair.
Yeah, no. You've been
life's just gonna give you
3 baby daddies. Yeah, I don't even want to get into it.
Hey, that's episode 16. We're gonna invite some of them on the show. No.
Yeah.
That's wisdom. That's wisdom right there. Mine was time commitment and flexibility. People always get into like, oh, I want to work for myself because I don't want to work so much. And I'm like,
no,
working from yourself means you will work way more.
A lot more.
I wrote, work long hours, work holidays. You got kids, you're going to miss the soccer practice. You're going to
Or
miss some
you're
of the
going to be at
games.
soccer practice with your computer.
Yeah, just like, good job, Hunter. You're being, because it's like you have to commit, because the work you're doing now for them, they're going to benefit down the road. Their kids are going to benefit. But like someone had to do the hard part.
Right.
Why not you? Like maybe your parents did the hard part and now you're living easy. But for the most part, you got to do the hard thing to have an easy life, because if you do the easy thing, you can have a hard life. So it's like someone's got to start. And so why not? So it's going to be a time commitment and flexibility. You definitely need, when I say this, I don't mean for them to like work all the time and neglect their family, but you have to have a smart work-life balance. You have to there's nothing wrong in my mind of writing on my calendar personal time. I'm going to do something fun. Like just write it in so that you never neglect it or you don't overindulge in it.
Right.
It's like when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, no, this ain't time to go to the coffee house. This ain't time to go to the common house. This ain't time to go to eat. This is work time. Now, on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, then it is time to go eat, right? So it's like you've just got to build that in. These are 5 things. I hope you guys took some notes. I would love, down the road, shoot us a message. What are your 5 things? Maybe you heard our 5 things and said, this is terrible. This is what you want to know. We'll share it with us. Give from abundance. Like if I'm going to write it down too. I'm like, user 759 said we should do this. And I agree. I'm going to do that,
Right.
I'm like, share it with us. We want to know, what can we do if we're trying to start another venture? We have that entrepreneur spirit. Where do we start the journey? Stephanie, if they wanted to reach us, where can they get at us?
You can reach me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Stephanie Nicole RVA.
Stephanie Nicole RVA. I'm on Instagram at _Galen Parker. I'm the only one. And that's not really true. There's a lot of other Galen Parkers out there. There was another Galen Parker in real estate, believe it or not, before me. But now if you look at them Google results, it look like there's only one Chief Rocker in this thing. Right. But the _Galen Parker. This is episode 3 of the Round 2 podcast. You did yourself a favor by investing in you by listening to this show. Give yourself a round of applause, listener. My name is Galen Parker. This is Stephanie Nicole. Have a great rest of your day.
See you later.